When you think of ancient marvels, what comes to mind? The Great Pyramids of Giza, right? Towering structures, built by pharaohs, a testament to a civilization that seemed to spring from the desert sands fully formed. But what if I told you that the story of humanity's first builders, the true pioneers of monumental construction, began thousands of years before the first pharaoh even wore a crown? What if the origins of civilization itself are not where we've been taught to look? Today, we journey back in time, far beyond the Nile, to uncover the astonishing story of ancient history's first builders. Our story starts not in Egypt, but hundreds of miles to the northeast, in a region known as the Fertile Crescent. Here, around 12,000 years ago, something revolutionary happened. The Ice Age was ending, and the world was changing. For millennia, our ancestors had lived as nomadic hunter-gatherers, following the herds and the seasons. But in this land of new abundance, they began to do something unprecedented. They put down roots. They started to settle. This wasn't a sudden shift. It was a slow, experimental process. But it led to the birth of the world's first villages. Imagine small clusters of round semi-subterranean houses, built from mud brick and stone. Places like the Nachifian settlement at Anan in modern-day Israel. Here, people lived together year-round, harvesting wild grains and hunting local game. They weren't just building shelters, they were building communities. They created shared spaces, stored food collectively, and even buried their dead with ceremony, sometimes with intricate shell ornaments, right beneath the floors of their homes. This was the dawn of a new social era, the very first step toward civilization as we know it. But these early villagers didn't just build homes. They built something far more profound. And for that, we must travel to a remote hilltop in southeastern Turkey, to a place that has completely rewritten the first chapter of human history. Göbekli Tepe, discovered only a few decades ago. This site is, simply put, a bombshell, dating back an incredible 11,600 years. Göbekli Tepe is the oldest known temple complex in the world. That's 7,000 years before the Great Pyramid and 6,000 years before Stonehenge. Picture this: massive T-shaped limestone pillars, some weighing up to 20 tons and standing 18 feet tall, arranged in large, circular enclosures. These pillars are not blank stones. They are intricately carved with stunningly detailed reliefs of animals: foxes, snakes, wild boars, scorpions, and graceful cranes. These weren't the domesticated animals of farmers. They were the powerful, often dangerous creatures of the wild, the world of the hunt. The people who built this monumental site had no metal tools, no writing, no pottery, and hadn't even domesticated plants or animals yet. They were, by all traditional definitions, primitive. So how did they do it? And more importantly, why? The sheer scale of Göbekli Tepe suggests a massive, coordinated effort. Hundreds of people must have worked together, quarrying these enormous stones, transporting them across the hillside, and erecting them with incredible precision. This required planning, leadership, and a shared, powerful belief system. For decades, the prevailing theory was that agriculture came first. People settled down to farm, created surplus food, and only then had the time and resources to build complex societies and grand temples. This was the farming first model of civilization. Göbekli Tepe flips that theory on its head. Here, we have hunter-gatherers building a massive ceremonial center asterisk. Before asterisk, the advent of widespread agriculture. This has led to a revolutionary new idea. Maybe it was the other way around. Perhaps the intense social and logistical demands of building and maintaining a sacred site like Göbekli Tepe were the actual catalyst for civilization. The need to feed the hundreds of workers who gathered here may have pushed people to experiment with cultivating wild grains, leading directly to the invention of farming. In Tisbu, it wasn't a full stomach that led to building a temple. It was the desire to build a temple that led to the need for a full stomach, and thus, agriculture. The temple came before the town. As we move forward in time, we see this tradition of building evolving. A few thousand years after Göbekli Tepe, we find another incredible site, Catalyach, also in modern-day Turkey. Flourishing around 9,000 years ago, Catalyuk was one of the world's first cities, a sprawling honeycomb of interconnected mud brick houses. There were no streets or alleyways. People entered their homes through ladders from the roof, creating a tight-knit, defensive community of thousands. Life in Cataluyuk was rich and symbolic. The walls of their homes were covered in vibrant murals depicting hunting scenes, geometric patterns, and even a volcanic eruption, possibly the world's first landscape painting. They sculpted figurines from clay and stone and buried their dead beneath the floors, continuing the tradition we saw in earlier settlements. This wasn't just a place to live. It was a canvas for art, religion, and social identity. It was a city born from the foundations laid by the temple builders of Gagitli Tepe. The builders of Cataluyuk were pioneers of urban planning, creating a dense, complex settlement that thrived for over 1,000 years. So what does this all mean for our understanding of ancient Egypt? It means that the pyramids of Giza were not the beginning of the story. They were the spectacular culmination of a building tradition that was already thousands of years old. The knowledge of quarrying massive stones, organizing large labor forces, and constructing monumental structures for a shared belief system didn't appear out of nowhere on the banks of the Nile. It was a legacy, passed down and refined over millennia, with roots stretching deep into the Anatolian highlands and the Levant. The builders of Gagwe Tepe, the residents of Cataluyuk, and the inhabitants of countless other prehistoric sites were the true trailblazers. They were the ones who first dared to transform the natural landscape into a world of their own making. They were the ones who figured out how to work together on a massive scale, driven by a shared vision of the cosmos. They laid the social and technological groundwork upon which all later civilizations, including ancient Egypt, were built. The story of humanity is not a simple, linear progression. It's a complex and fascinating tapestry woven from threads of innovation, belief, and sheer human will. The first builders, those ancient visionaries before the pharaohs, teach us that the desire to connect, to create meaning, and to build something greater than ourselves is one of the oldest and most powerful forces in human history. It's a force that began not with a king's command, but with a community's shared dream, carved in stone on a lonely hilltop 12,000 years ago. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back to the dawn of civilization. If you found this story as mind-blowing as I do, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into the hidden corners of history. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious.